Hello everyone, Xeno What If here. Here to bring in part 1 of What If Military was in Cross Ange. Link down description of the fanfiction of this What If. Listen here YouTube. I do not own anything and this is not a scam. Prologue. Washington, D.C., White House, 1942. At the moment, things are still going well, and the President FDR is still sitting in his chair waiting for another report while there is still war in the Pacific. FDR. It seems the Pacific front has improved a lot, it's about time we can fight back against the Japanese. Then the advisor came. U.S. Presidential Advisor. Mr. President, we have news from the U.S. Ambassador to Japan. FDR, read it. U.S. Presidential Advisor. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto launched a coup d'état. Prime Minister Tojo has been removed from the ministerial seat. FDR, who now be the Prime Minister of Japan. U.S. Presidential Advisor. Jizaburo Ozawa, from the Navy. This is something that might put us in danger, with the war still going on and the fall of Tojo from the army. Now it's likely that Japan will focus on strengthening its navy. FDR, keep an eyes on them. But behind him, FDR saw a flash of white light that seemed very bright, then FDR stood up from his chair and stared at the bright light. FDR, may God bless America. Until the light gets brighter and illuminates everything until it makes America disappear. Tokyo, Empire of Japan. Emperor Hirohito also stood glaring at a bright white light illuminating the city of Tokyo, and this time, he seemed to be resigned to what would happen next. Hirohito, may the rays of the rising sun continue to illuminate us. And it also wiped out Tokyo in an instant. Washington, D.C., White House, President Office, December 30th, year. John F. Kennedy woke up from his stupor. That when he woke up, he was in the presidential chair and he was surprised, even though he was still a member of the Navy. Why did he become president? But it seems that Kennedy don't know what happened long ago, but he remembered that he had just been elected president of the U.S. He looked at the mirror and see himself. JFK, whoa, that a pretty good face of mine when I was older. U.S. Presidential Advisor, Mr. President. There's something you need to hear. JFK, what is it? U.S. Presidential Advisor. Apparently, we just have been sent to another world. JFK, is that possible? U.S. Presidential Advisor. Check this out, we need go to Pentagon to check it. And finally President JFK left for the Pentagon as soon as possible. In the air. Inside the Japanese Air Force One that escorted by 2 jet fighter. Mitsubishi M747-400. Mitsubishi Ko-10 supersonic. Emperor Hirohito woke up and saw himself in an airplane cabin, and then looked at the window that reflected his reflection and saw his old self. It seems that Hirohito doesn't care about that because it seems he already knows what happened at that time but remembers that the country he leads has won the war. Hirohito. What a weird dream. Apparently he remembers now, he will soon go to the US to carry out peaceful diplomacy to stop the Cold War and want to make peaceful relations between OFN and GEACPS. Back to United States, Pentagon. President Kennedy had arrived at the Pentagon and then entered the basement escorted by a man from the CIA. Jason Hudson. Hudson, Mr. President, you have finally come, we have the emergency news. JFK, emergency news. What is that? Hudson, you will not believe it. They are escorted by the Secret Service who then enter an elevator and go underground and enter a room filled with advanced computers. JFK, so. Mr. Hudson, what the emergency news that you wanna tell? Hudson, William Westmoreland will tell you the details. Then JFK met a U.S. Army general who is also in Chief of Staff of the U.S. Army. General of the Army William Westmoreland. Westmoreland, you hear Mr. President, you will not believe what will you see. Westmoreland replaced the wall computer screen into a world map where to their surprise they saw that the North American continent, part of the South American continent and part of the Eurasian continent were in the middle of nowhere where there is also no Europe and Africa. Russian lands had vanished along with another Asian continent. JFK, oh my goodness. Where actually are we? Westmoreland, that's what we're all thinking. JFK, does the network to the satellite still available? Westmoreland, yes, the satellite network is still available today, but it's only a matter of time to find out where we are today. JFK, this is really unexpected. Attack on New York and Sato by Dragons Part 1. Montana Fleet, coast of New York. Replace the F-35 with F-18 Hornets. Consist of 1 battleship, 1 aircraft carrier, 5 destroyer and 4 cruiser. USS Montana BB-67 Montana-class battleships. USS George Washington CVN-73 Nimitz-class aircraft carriers. USS Stout DDG-55, USS Russell DDG-59, USS Fitzgerald DDG-62, USS John S. McCain DDG-56 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers. USS Lake Champlain CG-57, USS Shiloh CG-67, USS Normandy CG-60 Ticonderoga-class cruisers. Now, 8 F-18s are in the air and patrolling around the fleet and then flying higher above the clouds. McDonnell Douglas F-A-18 Hornet. Back to George Washington Bridge deck. Admiral John McGrath was monitoring the 8 F-18 of the Dexter Squadron and he contacted them because there's an electronic problem. Admiral John McGrath. Admiral John. Dexter 2, there's a mysterious energy that seems to be interfering with the electronics, can you trace where it is? Dexter -1, less than greater than. Admiral John. We found a strange large amount of energy in the air, not far from you, come closer, maybe it's the source of the electronics problem that is going on right now. Dexter -1, less than greater than. Back to the Dexter Squadron. They started looking for the source and then they saw something, a portal. Dexter 7, less than greater than. Dexter -1, less than greater than. Dexter 5, less than greater than. Then a swarm of creatures started to come out and it was a swarm of dragons. Dexter -8, less than greater than. Dexter -1, less than greater than. Dexter's squadron releases the fuel tanks under their planes and starts attacking the dragon swarms. They fought dragons small to very large, they didn't know what they were up against. Back to Montana Fleet, George Washington Bridge deck. George Washington Crew 3 Admiral. The Dexter Squadron was engaging the enemy. Admiral John. What kind of the enemy they engaging? George Washington Crew 2 They said there's a portal and dispatched the swarms of the dragons. Admiral John. Dragons. That no way. George Washington Crew 7 We lost contact with Dexter Squadron. Admiral John. Or they have been wiped out. It turned out that when he was outside, he saw some kind of fireball that fell into the sea and it was probably the Dexter Squadron that had been destroyed. Admiral John. Dang it. George Washington Crew 10 Admiral. Something incoming from the sky. And it's on high speed. Admiral John. Countermeasure them. Launch rams. And shoot the CIWS. Battle station. Then in the sky, the dragons began to dive towards the Montana fleet, and then the Montana fleet fired rams and CIWS against them. Meanwhile, some of the dragon hordes are flying in another direction, towards New York. New York. The city seemed fine, until a swarm of dragons began to attack, the large ones forming a circle of shields which then shot fireballs in all directions. This attack shocked everyone and the civilians. All the residents ran to find a safe place while the NYPD police shot the small dragons with makeshift weapons. NYPD Police 1 Shit. Who the hell are they? NYPD Police 7 Fuck. They so many. NYPD Police 5 Focus your fire. Shoots his M16. NYPD Police 9 Goddammit. Why they just die? Fire his revolver. The police forces had tried hard, but the large numbers overwhelmed them until finally the NYPD SWAT troops stormed and shot the dragons that flew as well as those that had landed. NYPD SWAT 8 Fire his MP5 fuck. Why are there so many of them? NYPD SWAT 7 Stay focus. Shoot them. Meanwhile at the coast of Sadagashima. The Taisho Fleet aka the 2nd Fleet of Imperial Navy heading towards the city of Sapporo in Hokkaido passing through Sato Island. This fleet is consisted 7 ship, 1 battleship, 1 aircraft carrier, 3 destroyer and 2 cruiser. IJN Taisho, Showa class battleship. IJN Amatsukas, Amatsukas class aircraft carrier. IJN Congo DDG 173, IJN Myoko DDG 175, IJN Kirishima 174 Congo class destroyer. IJN Midori, IJN Fukuoka, Midori class cruiser. IJN Taisho bridge deck. Currently, things are not going well, because there was an electronic network problem around Sato Island when they arrived. Sadagashima Island base informs that this problem has just occurred and now they are calling the Second Fleet just in case the Americans or the rebels attack. Commander Hisaya Ozawa. Commander Ozawa. Damn it, I just tried to contact all the ships and it's hard, why is it like this? Officer Toshihiko Abe. Officer Toshihiko. Maybe this is America's doing, for sure. Commander Ozawa. You still need to learn more, America can't do anything stupid to fight us where we have nuclear weapons too. Taisho Crew 1 hash. Commander, we received an information from Zepang's squadron that aired in the sky. Commander Ozawa. What is it? With Zepang's squadron. Zepang's squadron using Mitsubishi Seiko 5 Gosen, OFN reporting name. Viper 0, it basically AF2 but TNO version. Mitsubishi Seiko 5 Gosen. Zepang -1, less than greater than. Commander Ozawa, less than greater than. Zepang -1, less than greater than. Commander Ozawa, less than greater than. Zepang -1, less than greater than. Zepang 7, less than greater than. Zepang -1, less than greater than. Commander Ozawa, less than greater than. Zepang 4, less than greater than. Back to Taisho bridge deck. Taisho Crew 2 hash. We received that a big energy above the Sadagashima. Commander Ozawa. Where? Taisho Crew 7 hash. It's really, in there. In above Sadagashima. A portal which then released a swarm of dragons that began to attack the island of Sadagashima. Luckily the Imperial Japanese Army was there and shot the small dragons. The IJA using the Type 91 bullpup rifle, and they firing up to the schooner class dragons. TYPE 91 bullpup rifle. IJA 1 hash, what the hell are they? IJA 5 hash, keep shooting. Many IJA soldiers were pounced on from above and some were killed and eaten alive, until additional troops started arriving with tanks and APC. Type 33 Kai. TYPE 50 Kai Yo. Several IJA troops started evacuating the civilians who were there and while they were evacuating the civilians, they shot many dragons, including a large green and purple one. IJA 12 hash, what the fuck is that? Point to Brig class dragon. Ignore the para-male. IJA 19 hash, shit. This is a big one. IJA commander, all tanks, shoot at them. When the big dragon landed, all the tanks shot the dragon down and died, but still more came, all the weapons had been fired to take down these flying giants. It seems that the battle is fierce, can these two places survive? Attack on New York and Sato by Dragon Part 2. Outside the New York, U.S. Army Command. The U.S. troops have been stationed outside the city to counterattack against the Dragon forces that are destroying the city. General Creighton Abrams Jr. General Creighton. Okay. Those damn dragons have taken almost millions of souls, and the National Guard troops have been deployed but they are almost overwhelmed. We start mobilizing our troops and give these dragons a lesson. Let's go boys. All U.S. troops entered trucks, Humvees, VTOLs and helicopters. All troops armed with M4A1s. U.S. soldiers. M4A1. All fully armed troops began to move towards New York City which was attacked by the dragon hordes. Back to Sadagashima. The IJA troops have increased their troops by bringing anti-air weapons and several anti-air rockets to bring down the big dragons in the sky. Type 47 SPAAG. Type 35 SAM. IJA General, fire. All anti-air guns along with surface-to-air rockets were fired and killed many dragons, but their numbers did not decrease, plus the purple dragons fired fireballs at the IJA troops. IJA 6 hash, damn it. What's our problem with them? IJA 6 hash, keep firing. In Sadagashima Military Command, IJA Officer 4 hash, the dragons is spreading everyone. IJA Officer 8 hash, aircraft carrier, IJN Amatsukas cannot launch their aircraft because the dragons can attack them. Commander Masakio Tachibana. Commander Tachibana, for God's sake, can their numbers just decrease? IJA Officer 4 hash, Commander. There is an oddity in the portal where they appear. Commander Tachibana, what is it? IJA Officer 9 hash, the portal changed from its originally straight position to downwards. Commander Tachibana, give me a visual. The screen changed and showed that the portal was now facing the ground instead of straight, then took out something very large. Commander Tachibana, what is that? In the battlefield. All the IJA soldiers saw the portal now facing the ground and took out an even bigger dragon. RRRRRRRAAAAAHHHHHHH. IJA 19 hash, what the hell is that? And then the giant dragon landed and saw the small dragons moving away from the area where the giant dragon landed. Back to Sadagashima Military Command. IJA Officer 7 hash, what is that big dragon? IJA Officer 9 hash, that's the gigantic titan. Commander Tachibana, do not be careless. Bring self-propelled artillery and helicopters. Destroy the creature as fast as possible. In battlefield, troops augmented with self-propelled artillery and some helicopters are starting to summon. Type 43 SPA. Showa KH-1 Tenose. All the helicopters and self-propelled artillery fired at the giant dragon's position, assisted by tank troops who fired at the dragon's head, but any shell projectiles, missiles and rockets were unable to penetrate the skin of that gigantic dragon. Back to Sadagashima Military Command. IJA Officer 10 hash, Commander. That dragon's skin is hard to crack, just like Godzilla's skin. Any projectiles didn't penetrated that dragon. Commander Tachibana, we need backup. Call the Taisho fleet. IJA Officer 6 hash, yes, Commander. Back to New York, U.S. Army position. Military vehicles ranging from Humvees, IFVs, trucks, tanks and helicopters began rolling towards the battlefield where it seemed that the National Guard troops were also overwhelmed by these dragons. Sikorsky UH-60 Black Hawk, AH-1W Super Cobra, M2 Bradley, M1A1 Abrams, M939 truck, Humvee. The U.S. Army was deployed to drive these dragons out of New York. Inside the Humvee, U.S. Army 5 hash, Dragon Huh. It seems that something that smells of fantasy has made the entire American continent into a mass panic. U.S. Army 4 hash, it seems reasonable. Back to New York. The National Guard troops are overwhelmed with this swarm of dragons. Ing Trooper 2 hash, eat this you dragon bastard. Shot his M16. Ing Trooper 9 hash, this is the National Guards. Requesting backup immediately. Civilians is secure now. We need backup from the military. Ing Trooper 3 hash, fuck. Where is the military? Some of the smaller dragons that were about to start attacking were shot by 50 caliber cartridge and apparently, the military had arrived at the city. Ing Trooper 5 hash, the U.S. Army. They're here. Ing Trooper 2 hash, HORAHH. The helicopter rolls towards the city streets filled with chaos. US-60 Pilot 3 hash, less than greater than. US-60 Pilot 4 hash, less than greater than. Several helicopters started to land. The helicopter crew opened fire on the dragons that arrived while they were dropping troops. U.S. Army 10 hash, let's move. U.S. Army 17 hash, shoot those dragons. The AH-1W Super Cobra helicopter shoots down the tiny dragons that roam every town and city streets. AH-1W Pilot 1 hash, less than greater than. AH-1W Pilot 6 hash, less than greater than. A few missile shots brought down huge dragons that were easy to beat with missiles and heavy weapons. Back at Sadagashima, all of the IJA military were still shooting at the giant horned dragon who just watched them and then roared and its horns emitted light that formed a circle around it. And then all the tank cannons and IJA troops fell to the ground and couldn't stand up. IJA 14 hash, why I can't standing up. IJA 6 hash, what the hell? And the helicopter in front of the giant dragon also fell to the ground and was crushed. It seems that the helicopter was attracted by the gravitational manipulation power that the giant horned dragon had. In Sadagashima Military Command, IJA Officer 5 hash, the big horned dragon release its power. Commander Tachibana, so this is his power, the gravity manipulation. IJA Officer 1 hash, Commander, we can't risk our troops that below that big dragon getting shooted by us, it will be a friendly fire. Commander Tachibana, Are there bombers available? IJA Officer 1 hash. There are those who carry bomb munitions which they say can penetrate the bunker. If the top shell is hard, we just beat it with the bomb. However, there is another weakness, but our troops and we ourselves are not aware of it. Commander Tachibana. What is the name of that bomb? IJA Officer 1 hash. Type 101 inches bunker buster. Niigata Airport. A tactical bomber was take off after get requested by the Sadagashima Military Command to launch a bunker buster bomb. Nakajima BA-1 Futomaki. Back at Sadagashima Military Command. IJA Officer 6 hash. The Futomaki bomber had take off in Niigata Airport. That bomber will soon in here after 5 minutes. IJA Officer 1 hash. 5 minutes. That's enough to waiting that bomber to closing into the Sadagashima airspace. Commander Tachibana. Well, contact that bomber pilot. Tell him to drop that bunker buster bomb after his aircraft were in top of that big horned dragon. His gravity manipulation will support the bunker buster to strike his body deeper from his back. IJA Officer 10 hash. Yes, Commander. Back at battlefield. In the distance, the IJA only see what happened and cannot do anything because it's too risky. IJA 51 hash. This is bad. How we can liberate our friendly on the front line? What about the civilians? IJA 23 hash. All civilians is safe. Those dragons will not pass this place because they can get far from the portal. IJA 24 hash. Today is getting weird. Then they looked up into the sky and saw a tactical bomber heading towards the front line. IJA 41 hash. Is that a Futomaki bomber? IJA 25 hash. What is the commander thinking right now? Until when it entered the area where the giant horned dragon was located, the bomb was dropped, but not towards the back, instead it fell towards the dragon's head. The bomb entered the gravitational manipulation power circle and then fell on its horn, which then one of the horns exploded and broke. Back to Sadagashima Military Command. IJA Officer 6 hash. Right on target. Commander Tachibana. What was he thinking? Didn't I tell him to aim at his back? How come he's aiming at the horns? IJA Officer 8 hash. I said to do that because the source of its power is in its horns, and it seems that aiming for the dragon's back is impossible because later it will be beaten by several small dragons. If we break or crush one of its horns, then it will take away its power. Commander Tachibana. You're right. All right. Continue shooting. That dragon definitely has a weak spot. IJA Officer 15 hash. Meet. The weakness is in the lower body, which is not protected at all. Commander Tachibana. Is air and ground support of the Imperial Navy available? IJA Officer 4 hash. Ground and air support available now, due to the dragon dwindling numbers. Commander Tachibana. Commence Operation Asahi. Send everyone, get our Imperial Army on the ground. IJA Officer 1 hash. Roll in strike packages. IJA Officer 7 hash. Task Force Zuikaku, execute Godwind. In Taisho Fleet. IJN Taisho and other ships aimed the ship's gun turret and targeted the giant horned dragon, and the IJN Amatsukas had already started flying Gosen fighter jets. Back to Taisho bridge deck. Commander Ozawa. All ships, prepare for anti-ground assault. Ready main cannons and missiles. Taisho Crew 6 hash. Cannon readied. Taisho Crew 9 hash. Missiles locked. Staff Officer Toshihiko. We ready to fire. Taisho Crew 10. Aiming at 2-1-0. Take her starboard. Taisho Crew 1 hash. Starboard ho. The other ships followed the movement of IJN Taisho, and now the guns are heading towards where the giant dragon is. Commander Ozawa. Goddamn dragons. You're about to find out what the Showa-class battleship's 50cm cannons tastes like. Taisho Crew 5 hash. Distance, 2-5-0. Taisho Crew 4 hash. Ready to fire. Commander Ozawa. Commence attack. Then a loud bang came from the Taisho's 50cm cannons, and missiles from Taisho's VLS was fired. 3 Kongo-class destroyers was fired their Otobretta turret cannons and missiles. 2 Midori-class cruisers was fired their 120mm cannons and GMLS guided missiles launch system. Back at battlefield. The IJA troops began to advance to shoot at the giant horned dragon, which was fired upon by many helicopters, tanks and artillery, until finally an artillery attack from the warship hit the dragon, exploded and torn apart his body, and many bloods were splitting. that gigantic horned dragon down and one of the purple-colored dragon realized something and then that dragon give a signal to retreat. Back to Sadagashima Military Command. IJA Officer 4 #, Commander. They're retreating. IJA Officer 9 #, we detect that the portal energy become decreasing. They in hurry to back to their original world before the portal was closing. Commander Tachibana. Tell all go send fighters to take out the rest if they can't go away and fire the enemy before they're leaving. IJA Officer 5 #, yes, Commander. Back to battlefield. The dragons immediately fled towards the portal and the IJA troops shot at them from behind. The warplanes and helicopters shot too, until finally all the remaining dragons fled to the portal and suddenly, the portal was closed. Back to New York. Likewise in New York, the remaining dragon swarms escape into the return portal and the US forces shoot them from behind. F-18 Pilot 5 #, that what I was talking about. F-18 Pilot 9 #, push them. The fighter planes finished off the dragons behind, until the portal closed and now they can repel them. And this is the end of part 1 of this what if. I hope you guys like it. Don't really leave a comment down below and subscribe to the channel.